Cold rain began suddenly, reminding us of the imminent approach of prolonged bad weather. This has always been the case in their city. A long damp autumn, bringing sadness and dispersing everyone home. Cozy, warm with soft light, a lampshade in the kitchen and the sweet aroma of freshly brewed tea. Just not for her. Vera Ivanovna sighed softly and went out into the rain. In her almost full 70 years, she did not rest for a single day. Even now, when she could enjoy a well-deserved pension, she went to work every day, did not even take a vacation. They paid extra for this, and the money was very necessary, however, not to herself, but this did not change the matter. Her pension, a small salary and the amount that the tenants paid went to her daughter. Yes, it was she who persuaded her mother to rent her Kopek piece and live with them. At first it was not bad, but Lida quickly wrapped up her mother, then a new washing machine is needed, then she needs to report to the car. It's strange, somehow it turned out that quietly the tenants began to transfer payment to their daughter's bank card. It's logical, Mom, you don't even use a card, but it's more convenient for them, and why do you need money? I will determine where to spend. And by the way, when do you get your salary? You have to pay for utilities. Ladaka, well, I gave you my pension only that week, I thought I could buy shoes for myself from this salary, my 10 years are already leaking, my feet are cold, and my feet have been hurting for a long time. Don't fool your head, your shoes need to be repaired, but have you seen the new ones, how much do they cost now? You're not young, you don't need anything, and you can still look like those. Vera Ivanovna sighed, her daughter did not yet know that the elderly mother had made a decision that she definitely would not like. How did it happen that the only child, to whom she gave everything, grew up to be such an egoist, although why is she surprised? Apparently, that's why Lida grew up so much from the fact that her mother is everything to her. She raised her daughter by herself. Her husband died early and worked, plowed at 2 jobs, only so that her Ladaka had everything. She grew up smart and beautiful and always appreciated her mother's care, and then imperceptibly began to take everything for granted. She is the only one with her mother. Vera herself is to blame for raising her this way. But, unfortunately, or fortunately, this can no longer continue. It doesn't matter at all, she feels herself, and she keeps her at work rather for past merits. Also because few people apply for the position of a cleaner in a polyclinic. The cat cried a lot of work, but the daughter also needed it. Plus the pension, plus the rent came out fine, but the legs began to fail. Vera understood that no matter how sad it sounds, but if she comes to help, there will be no one. It was time to make a decision. Coming out of the chief's office, Vera Ivanovna smiled, well, there is no way back, she has just signed a letter of resignation. She received a good amount as severance pay for an unused vacation. For the first time, it should be enough, and the pension went to the post office, received the tenants earlier and warned that the apartment was handed over by the end of the month. She really wants to go home. There was one unpleasant thing left to tell her daughter. As expected, she was horrified. And what did you think of yourself? You are out of your mind, you thought about us, we, by the way, counted on this money, planned everything. Look out for your granddaughter to act soon, and training, by the way, costs a lot of money. Or do you want Masha to have no higher education? Ladaka, all my life I only think about you. And when you had a family, it became my responsibility to think about your family too. And who will think of me? Daughter, well, I can't work anymore. You know my legs hurt, my back hurts, the pressure jumps all the time, well, what kind of worker of me should I have a rest, I won't die stupidly ahead of time. But the daughter did not calm down, and Vera Ivanovna was offended that her dearest person could not and did not want to understand her. No matter how hard the elderly woman tried to restrain herself, tears rolled down on their own. Mom, why are you immediately in tears? Like even somehow more softly said Lida. Well, I beg you, Mommy, well, work for at least another year. We still really counted on the money that you gave us. It was pointless to argue, not understanding the daughter that physically she could no longer work and did not want to hear anything. Therefore, she simply sighed and said firmly, as best she could. There is still time before Maria arrives, start saving a little. Limit yourself at least in something, save up, and if you don't have enough, take a loan, then you will pay it off. So I'm sorry, but I don't participate here anymore. And one more thing, my tenants live until the end of the month and vacate my apartment. I'm returning home, there are no mothers, but this is generally some kind of tin. I see, you decided to finish us off for you, that you don't live here, how many years you were satisfied with life with us, and now it doesn't suit you. Vera Ivanovna merely shook her head, silently got up and went into her room. She lived here with her grandson. One of all Bogdan was on her side, only he was interested in well-being and tried to help. The boy was a younger sister, who, apart from new clothes and cosmetics, was of little interest. If Masha had tried at least a little, she would have entered the institute herself, but for this it was necessary to make an effort. Study. For what? If you can just pay and not bathe, all the more so for her not to bathe. Let the parents solve problems, and the main thing for her is not to miss her chance and marry successfully. And for this, in her opinion, apart from clothes and beauty, nothing more was required. Tension hung in the air, the daughter pouted her lips and did not speak. The grandson tried to defuse the situation, to take it, pretended that he was not at all involved. Maria, as usual, hung on her smartphone. Vera Ivanovna barely waited until the month ended and her apartment was vacated, but no one from the family offered help, although there were few things, but they couldn't take everything away at once, and the children didn't offer to give a ride in a car. Offended that in her old age she refuses to work for them, only Bogdan volunteered to help. Granny, don't drag your bags yourself, I agreed with a friend, he'll arrive in an hour, and we'll go together. The apartment turned out to be unkempt, the tenants turned out to be unscrupulous, repairs were required, and the cleaning was serious. And yet here was her place, here she can be at peace and not rush anywhere. Everything will be put in order little by little, there are no reserves of truth, but oh well, it will cost somehow. While she lived with her daughter, she gave every penny to her and her son-in-law, only the smallest things for medicines and spent nothing. The pension is small, but no matter how you manage it. Vera Ivanovna slept soundly for the first time, evidently fatigue was showing itself and the silence in the apartment. No one rattled in the kitchen, no Masha and mother quarreled in such silence, and the head was better able to think and hurt less. I built a light breakfast and decided to go for a walk, look around the area. For a long time I have not been here. Have the stores changed? Gradually, life was getting better, skillful hands, who had been working all their lives, quickly led to the apartment in a divine form. Yes, modest, but clean and comfortable. I would like to save up a little and buy a TV, so that it would be more fun. But for now, it was just a dream. But Vera Ivanovna was not sad. For the first time in years, she felt calm and well. It was unusual that it was not necessary to run to work in any weather, to cook for everyone, which often happened. And that it was very strange and pleasant to spend time only for yourself. The daughter, apparently, was very offended, because she never called. If only I could find out how she is doing here, is everything in order with her health? The grandson ran regularly just to visit. The woman was very glad that at least he would grow up to be a real person. Once in the yard, she was called uncertainly. "Aunt Vera, is that you?" Vera Ivanovna did not even recognize the stately, beautiful girl at first, but then she took a closer look. "Olenka? Hello. And I didn't recognize you." The daughter of her old friend grew up and turned into a real lady. We talked in a friendly way. It turned out that Vera's friend had been gone for 2 years. Heart attack. My daughter got married and now lives here with her husband. Suddenly Alya threw up his hands. Aunt Vera, God himself sent me to you. I want to ask you for a favor, but don't just think so. It's just that in a week my husband and I are going on vacation for a month. And we have a cat Vaska, of course we can't take him with us. I found out about the hotel for animals, but it will be such a stress for our pet. I want to ask you, maybe you will come to us and feed our Vasenka. He is accustomed to the tray, he eats everything until we leave my food. You so feed, yes, get back a little to communicate with him. And while Vera Ivanovna doubted, Alya hastily suggested, don't you think, he is very calm and friendly with us, and we will pay you like in a hotel for animals. And Alya named a very significant amount, not only for a pensioner, she just waved her hands. Where to? A lot of. After all, it's not hard for her to live nearby, she will come in, and she doesn't need money or work, because it's completely. But Alya balked. If you take a cat to a shelter, you would have to pay more, but here he will remain at home in a familiar environment. And not in a cage, as it would be. So let's not argue. Even earlier, Vera Ivanovna was cleaning her apartment and found her old bag of yarn for knitting. I remember she used to knit. And then she was so tired at work that she had no time for it. And now she has time to resume this favorite thing. And she began to remember the loops to the patterns. Vera Ivanovna will come to feed the cat, take knitting with her, feed Vaska, sit and knit. And the cat, happy with the ball, plays like in the picture and such warmth in the soul. Vera even learned how to shoot video on the phone, her grandson showed how it was done, and now she was filming Vaska and sending it to Alya. Father and husband rejoiced when they saw their pet having fun, then the neighbors returned and paid in full for everything as promised. Although Vera Ivanovna refused, Alya resisted. Yes, you look at our Vasenka, he has become kind, prettier, and as soon as he sees you, he immediately runs towards you. Take do not refuse, and visit us more often. A month later I got a call from an unknown number. The girl introduced herself as Alya's friend. The request was similar, Alya recommended it so much, she admired her with a neighbor, that now I asked her to look after their pets. But they have 2 parrots and 2 cats, they will leave everything, and they will pay more accordingly. Recommendations are serious business. It is scary to leave the keys to the apartment to strangers. And now there are few people like Vera Ivanovna who are honest and responsible, and who love animals. Soon all the district courts began to use her services, there was enough for a TV. Yes, even on what? The grandson helped me choose a big, thin one, not at all the same as before. Yes, I finally bought some new ones. I threw away old shoes and boots. Now at least my feet will be warm, I even made a small repair in the apartment. And then Alya saw her knitting and orders came. Handicraft was in vogue in the trend, as the youth said. It turns out that you can earn at home no worse than at work with a mop, especially since they paid very well, and Vera loved these activities. Bogdan continued to come to visit, sit, drink tea, find out how things are and run. And she doesn't need more, her grandson flatly refused gifts and money. Grandmother, but the main thing for me is that you are healthy, and everything else is nonsense. How many times a woman was surprised at how the boy could remain so right in such and such a family. And the daughter nevertheless showed up 6 months later. Then Vera Ivanovna realized what she had asked for to visit. She tried her best, baked pies, thought Lida would come in peace. Well, I was wrong. After sitting a little and praising the pies, as if, by the way, the daughter looked around the apartment. I see you're doing well. I recently met your neighbor Marinka, she says that you regularly watch Alkin's animals. So that's where the interest comes from. The old gossip neighbor gave everything away. She was not out of malice, of course, rejoiced for Vera, but her daughter immediately caught everything. Yes, Alya and her husband often leave either for work, or for vacation. It's not hard for me to live in the same entrance. Did you say your legs hurt in pressure? I see you just don't want to share with me, and I'm your only blood, there is no one else. The song began anew, sadly looking at her daughter Vera Ivanovna. Plucked up courage. You know, Lida, and I gave you all my strength all my life, I completely forgot about myself, but you didn't even remember. I think, at least in my old age, I deserve peace and attention. And if you came for money, I have to disappoint you. I won't give you a penny, I've already rewritten the apartment, and also not for you, for Bogdan, although he still doesn't know about it. So I'm always glad to see you, but only if you come to visit, and not reproach me for being in my 7th decade that I refuse to work for you and your family. Lidka threw it out and ran out the door. Apparently, that's what she came for. At what stage did Vera make such a mistake? After all, she just wanted her daughter to not need anything. And it turned out to be spoiled. That egoist grew up, though late, but it's time to re-educate. Well, if it doesn't work out, then so be it. Having collected the pies, Vera Ivanovna resolutely went to Alya and then to the old neighbor. Let at least for them, but she will remain just an elderly person, not a robot, not a sponsor, but just a good and kind neighbor.